Nearly 20% of all truck drivers are foreign-born. In addition to that, the amount of foreign-born truck drivers has doubled since the year 2000, from 300,000 to 700,000. Now, given the increases in foreign-born truck drivers, growing hostility in the trucking industry, complaints of stagnating wages, and increases in incidents, the state of Arkansas is actually looking to ban non-citizen truck drivers. Now, according to this legislation, truck drivers must have a valid U.S.-issued CDL. The state of Arkansas would not recognize work visas. Drivers and motor carriers in violation of this law will incur hefty fines of $5,000 and $10,000 respectively. Now, granted, this is a bill, but in my opinion, it's likely to become law, and pretty soon all states will follow the lead of Arkansas. That's just my prediction. I'll get into that later in just a moment. But like I said, 20% of truck drivers are foreign-born. Now, of that 20%, we got to ask ourselves, how many of these truck drivers can effectively communicate in English? Because in order to become a U.S. citizen, a naturalized citizen, you have to be able to demonstrate proficiency in the English language. And in order to be able to drive a truck, you must be able to demonstrate proficiency in the English language. The new Arkansas legislation requires truck drivers that are pulled over by DOT to take a reading test to demonstrate that they are able to, in fact, communicate in English. And failure to, be able to demonstrate this will result in a $5,000 fine for the driver or a $10,000 fine for the motor carrier if it's discovered that they have drivers that cannot speak English. Now, despite this being a bill, a viral video released to the Mother Trucker News channel features a driver that is actually pointing out the fact that DOT in Arkansas is already enforcing this. Let's take a look at that.
Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Got stopped at the weigh station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper and it says, "Can you read and write English?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure can." And I was like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, we've come across now that if you cannot read or write in English, that it's a $5,000 fine. And if you have a company in Arkansas that employs people that can't read or write in English, it's a $10,000 fine paid on the spot."
Now, all this is alleged, of course. There are federal laws, FMCSA regulations, that prohibit truck drivers from operating CMVs if they can't speak English. However, there isn't a specific dollar amount that a driver would be fined if it's discovered that they can't speak English. However, they do face criminal penalties, civil penalties, or whatever, among other things, including like out of service violations. Now, like I said, this is just one state, the state of Arkansas. However, I just don't think it makes sense logistically for shady carriers to just avoid the state of Arkansas altogether. So pretty soon, I do think that a bunch of other states are going to follow the lead of Arkansas. I predict that this is going to result in a driver shortage, and this may actually increase the wages for truck drivers in the industry. Like I said, all of this is a prediction because, there is evidence that, foreign-born truck drivers in trucking actually do apply downward pressure to the wages in trucking, which displaces domestic truck drivers. Now, I know people may not like that I have to say that, but it is something that you have to point out. It's something that you have to just admit. I'm sorry if that offends anybody. Now, Shannon Everett is a former fleet owner himself, and he actually believes in the efficiency of this legislation.
That they didn't change the law. Nobody voted to change the law. You just have an agency here that issues a random that tells everyone to ignore the law. And so everybody's been operating under this since 2016. And so this is kind of a pivotal point that we've gone and marked as a policy change that has impacted the total crash records across the country. And so if you were to look at the crash data prior to the policy change in 2016, and the crash data after that point, we've seen a significant increase in our total fatal crashes involving commercial vehicles.
There have been way too many incidents involving foreign-born truck drivers that aren't even supposed to be operating commercial motor vehicles, and somehow, some way, they're able to do this, and it has caused untold suffering to society. More famous examples include the instances of the Colorado truck drivers. The first truck driver, more recently unaliving Scott Miller, who's heading home from the grocery store. Let's take a look at that.
Missing Miller. But also learning in court today, the DA's office charged the man behind the wheel with lesser charges of careless driving. Last Tuesday, Colorado State Patrol says 47-year-old Ignacio Cruz Mendoza sideswiped 5 vehicles with his semi as he tried to pass them on Highway 285 near Conifer.
And mind you, this truck driver that is responsible for unaliving Scott Miller, who only got 1 year in prison, by the way, he was deported 16 times. In addition, another Colorado truck driver, back in 2019, he was going down a steep mountain grade on I-70. He failed to use the runaway truck ramps because his brakes ended up fading, and as a result, he plowed into several cars and unalived 4 people.
Drastically reducing the prison sentence of a trucker who caused a deadly pileup on an interstate. Governor Jared Polis commuted the sentence for Rohel Aguilera Medeiros, reducing it to 10 years. He had been sentenced to 110 years in prison.
Now, I couldn't 100% confirm this myself, but it came out that this truck driver was not able to effectively communicate in English. And if that's really the case, then that makes sense why he avoided the runaway truck ramps while he was heading down that mountain. He may not have understood the purpose of those signs, those road signs, because English is not a language that he is proficient in. Now, moving on, we have some breaking news that happened last night that I'd like to report on. Ike Stevens, host of Bonehead Truckers, reported last night that a truck driver in Austin, Texas, unalived at least 5 people in a tragic incident. 37-year-old Solomon Whitakill Araya is currently in custody facing charges of intoxicated manslaughter.
The 7-year-old was driving an 18-wheeler. Well, Dakiel Araya was supposed to be in court in Wilmer, just south of Dallas, this coming Tuesday for a 63 and a 30-mile-an-hour zone speeding ticket.
My condolences to the families and victims of the individuals involved in this horrific incident. Now, Whitakill Araya hauled freight for Amazon, a third-party contracted carrier that hauled freight for Amazon. I have to make that important distinction because I do think it's very important to talk about this. Now, I don't think that Amazon hires truck drivers directly. I think they outsource a lot of their freight to third-party carriers, and I think that the requirements to haul freight for Amazon are pretty lax, and unfortunately, I think this opens the doors for shady carriers where they can, hire people, basically hire people with the pulse, not even vet them, and allow them to operate an 80,000-pound death machine. And because of this, you combine that with the fact that freight rates are pretty cheap. That's just a recipe for disaster. Very, very tragic disaster. Prior to this incident, Whitakill Araya was supposed to appear in court next week because he got a ticket for speeding 30 miles over the speed limit. Now, a reputable trucking company would have fired that driver immediately, but yet he was still able to continue working for this company, whatever company it was, and unfortunately, so many lives were ruined because of this individual. Now, Ike Stevens pointed out that it's possible that Whitakill Araya could not communicate very well in English, and somebody called out him for being racist, apparently, for stating that there is a pattern with these foreign truck drivers that can't communicate in English very well. I don't think that's racism. I think that's pattern recognition. But regardless, Ike Stevens did point this out in his video last night. But what's crazy is that this morning he provided an update video which confirms the very fact that Solomon Whitakill Araya could not speak English. Let's take a look at that.
And listen, a lot of you guys are gonna hate me for saying all this, but I don't care. Someone's got to put their doggone foot down and say something. And I don't know if this guy knew English or not. I don't know. But hey, I could go put 2 and 2 together, and I could probably flip a coin if he does or not.
You know, there's 2 people dead over there, and possibly 2 more, possibly 4. They're dead.
Dead?
They're dead.
Dead?
Yes, dead. Who are you calling?
I'm calling.
Bro, they finna lock your ass up.
Huh?
They finna lock your ass up.
Who's that?
They're gonna lock you up.
I'm lucky?
They're gonna lock you up. Lock you up. Put you in handcuffs.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna lock you up. That's manslaughter, bro. They're fucking dead. Subhanallah.
As you guys see, the driver could not communicate very well in English. He appears to not be able to understand spoken English. Ike Stevens was in fact correct. He seemed very confused at the very concept that he unalived multiple people. And he also seemed very confused that he was going to go to prison. But hey, once it dawned on him, the coward actually tried to escape.
Hey, he's taking off. Huh? He's taking off. The driver.
Once again, my condolences to the family and friends of the victims involved in this tragic, horrific incident. And as for the truck driver, well, this happened in Texas, and in Texas, they believe in capital punishment. I'm just saying. As for the carrier that he hauled the freight for, they're definitely going to be sued into oblivion. Now, as for Amazon, I think they're very shady for outsourcing their labor to other carriers. I'm just saying, because of situations like this, where you have incompetent carriers hiring incompetent truck drivers, I don't think Amazon is going to be implicated in any type of litigation, any type of lawsuit, unfortunately. In conclusion, stories like this are the reason why all states need to follow the lead of Arkansas. Now, I'll end the video here, and I want to hear from you. How do you guys feel about the bill in Arkansas? Is the legislation justified? How do you guys feel about the recent incident that unfolded last night? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. You guys are the best audience on the internet, and if you enjoy videos like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Taja Woods, and I'll see you next time.